It's the NUKA-COLA Lounge, presented by the Triple S League.
NUKA-COLA was a popular drink in the pre-war era, and still is today.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Triple S League's podcast, the NUKA-COLA Lounge, where we drink NUKA-COLA and we talk about gaming things. You okay there, Ash?
I'm not feeling so good.
You're not feeling so... You still have that cold that we had a couple weeks back. Well, I mean, everybody had that cold a couple weeks back.
No, I mean, a little bit, but that's not what it is. It's... well, I play a lot of video games, right? And according to the World Health Organization, I have a severe mental illness.
Really? What kind of mental illness?
Well, severe addiction to video games. You know, I can't control my own behavior. I have a compulsion, and it's just, you know, has the potential to completely ruin my life.
Huh. Well, that's very strange. Was there any solid research provided in this thing at all?
Well, apparently there's some academics, like a couple dozen of them or so, that think that this is premature and is based on poor research and could have, hasn't taken into account. There hasn't been any research into, normal gaming behavior to compare against, and there hasn't been any, that this could be negative thing for healthy gamers. But really, what do they know though? I mean, we're talking about.
So I read this I read a couple of these articles actually. And one of the things that they identified was persistent or reoccurring behavior characterized by impaired control over being able to stop the activity.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's a couple things here. First of all, I could identify breathing being the same medical problem using this data and information. So there's that, drinking water, brushing your teeth, those kinds of things. But to be a little bit more serious on it, this is really funny, and it's like another one of these attacks against gaming, and wanting to say, hey, immersing yourself in a digital world, is bad. It's bad. It's not real. It's fake. It's all this stuff. Yet more and more we're starting to see studies that come out and say, oh yeah, really can help to hone certain skills and can be quite educational at times as well.
Yeah.
So
this really does kind of smack of the kind of attitude that was prevalent about a decade ago or so about the supposed link between playing video games and real-world violence, right? I know, when there was that very, very tragic shooting at Columbine High School.
It turns out that they played video games.
Yeah, that was one of the things that got mentioned is, they spent their time playing violent video games, but most people
nowadays you take the average 15-year-old, pretty much every single one of them plays video games. And now, oh look, with the mobile phones, turns out that pretty much everybody's playing video games now. It's just
absolutely
kind of,
and I mean
it's kind of mind-boggling at this point.
Someone could argue that there's a difference between, say, playing a war game or playing, Everwing or, Bejeweled or whatever. Angry Birds. I've let my daughter play Angry Birds, and she only very occasionally takes a slingshot and shoots a bird when she sees a pig. It's not like a persistent problem. It's ruining her life.
Well, this kind of leads us into our the next big news story of this week in gaming.
And holy crap, is it a slow news week? Wow.
Hey, this story is a long story, if you know what I mean.
But dropping it on us so suddenly is kind of a dick move, don't you think?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a dick move. One might say there's some dysfunction in the at the rate that they were able to raise it to our awareness.
Yeah, but the erection of this kind of a project is a massive endeavor.
Yes, yeah, and I guess it takes a lot of pre-planning to stimulate the economy. Oh my goodness, I can't believe we're doing this. So, Age of Conan, which is famous for its gratuitous amounts of violence and nudity, has come out with a new survival game, which I did not... There were a couple things I was shocked to hear about. The first one is that Funcom is still around. I honestly thought they got shut down like years ago. Like, they've had so many like crazy like things happen at that company, and the last time I heard about them is one of their like head like financial people was getting taken to jail or being fined or something. It turns out he was embezzling money and just allegedly. I don't know. I just stopped tracking it after that because it was just, they had just messed so much stuff up, and they had just done so many things that were super shady, and then they had cut a whole bunch of staff, and then out of nowhere I'm like, oh, Age of Conan and Funcom is making it, or Failcom. I was really surprised, and now I'm gonna have to call some people and talk to some people and see what the company's doing, see if this game's got potential as far as like the management side. So I'm gonna look into that. I don't have any of that ready yet, but about our other thing,
I mean, it does look like this is going to be a very big game, but as you know, as they say, it's what you do with it. It's not the size that counts.
Oh my goodness! Seriously, you're going to get us fired. Yeah,
you keep saying that, but you know, we replaced you with a robot like 6 months ago. So,
wait, you what?
Yeah. Well, see, you're a very convincing replacement. You don't even know you've been replaced.
Oh my goodness, this changes everything.
Not
so
really.
Yeah,
the old guy was a robot too. So.
Oh, is that? Anyways, yeah. This game is got its own.
It's got a.
It's got a slider.
It's got a slider that I have officially dubbed
dong size.
I have officially dubbed it the Schlong Longer.
The Schlong Longer. So
do you remember the thing longer from Futurama? Good news,
yes.
Everyone! I've invented a device that allows you to operate machinery from great distances. I call it the Thing Longer. He puts on this glove that has like index finger that extends out for like 3 feet. You remember that?
Yes, I remember.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, so I was completely shocked and surprised that A, the company's still around, and B, that they went ahead and included full Monty nudity for both sexes. So there's something, and it's getting like, there's a lot of people watching it, and a lot of people streaming it, and a lot of people commenting and talking about it. So I mean, I guess. So
well, I wonder if this is going to hinder or help the whole case against the World Health Organization and their gaming addiction thing.
Well, one of the things that you can specialize in when you're making your character, you can pick certain character traits, and one of the things you can pick is like, you can be a cannibalist, or you can like do like human sacrifices to Cthulhu. So I'm really curious now to see if people playing these games have a sudden rise in both cannibalism and sacrificing people in open pits during high moons to dark, space gods, to see if they can bring about a new invasion of monsters and giant stone statues that move around and crush everything. Like this.
Well, no, I just meant that a swaying object can be very mesmerizing, and
oh my goodness, the puns. Oh my goodness.
Huh. So I'm looking at this PC Gamer article about this, and the guy has put up these GIFs of, obviously very not safe for work GIFs of his gameplay experience, and then one is just him moving the endowment slider up and back and forth, and really it looks like an eel popping out to grab its food. And anyway, the featured comment on this page: do nut hits stun your opponent for a few seconds? Because we're talking there is completely it's completely rigged for physics. So yeah, it's not just it's not just there. You've got full-fledged movement happening.
Now, when you're getting teabagged in the game after you get killed or ganked in the wild while you're simply trying to gather some sticks, and some people with like steel weapons show up and slice you in half. Oh, that's also a thing. You can slice people in half. It brings a whole new term to the word teabagging in gaming. So
well, there's a bunch of people here that commented. They're like, yeah, I've been looking for a game with advanced teabagging features. And
I cannot believe that they did this, but this kind of leads us to the question of, are they going to be successful? This is Funimation or Funcom, not Funimation. Funimation is very good. Funcom's company has been on life support now, I guess, here for several years. So this might just be the thing to bring them back. But this is basically a reskin of Ark. It's got Ark and then Survival of the Fittest and those titles. That's been a pretty hot topic game in Series 2. So it's interesting to me that on opening day, this thing has a much higher rating than Ark ever got. This is just a reskin of Ark, basically.
It's going to hinge on the gameplay. This full genital physics thing is a gimmick. It really is. That's what it boils down to. And I guess it makes sense if they're going to go with, full realistic nudity, whatever, that's sort of a thing within the game. But, man, there's a part of me that still can't even believe we're actually talking about this. But, yeah, so it's going to hinge on the gameplay, as opposed to this. The
gameplay in Ark was decent. It wasn't a nightmare like some of the other kind of smaller indie-ish startups that are out there that have tried to do similar things with kind of the whole Minecraft walk around build stuff and whatnot. It's this one's very different because it manages to hold together fairly well. It's still relatively small servers and some server renting and other stuff that's that can be, for the most part, very problematic. So we'll see where it goes from here. I'm not sure if if it'll do good, but I think it'll find a little bit more success because they've gone this route of hey, we're offering you full unfledged nudity and crazy level violence. You can rope people and then tie the rope to a horse or just drag them to your base and then set them up on, as a sacrifice or, perform some ritual on that. It's crazy stuff. It's really out there. It's pretty barbaric and insane, just
Yeah, is that enough? Is that what the audience for this game was asking for? Is that what they wanted? And is that...
Well, it's yes, and this goes back to their original Conan barbarian game, Age of Conan MMO that they came out with. Is that they came out with this, and one of the big things they were offering was, hey, we're gonna have chest up, waist up nudity for the women, because it's kind of a trope in that series. And so a whole bunch of people were really excited about it, and then they tried to cater to a more younger audience when most of their audience is why are you doing this? Why are you trying to PG it down when you have to be an adult to play it? You're not even allowed by your own rules. You're not even allowed to let people play it if they're they're under 18 or under whatever law in local areas are. And so that was one of the many things that set them off and set off their haters. And then we find out that the company was actually charged with some money abuses and some other stuff, and it was just bad news there after bad news after bad news. And then this came out of left field, and I think maybe what they've done is they've said, hey, we've got an audience and we're going to cater to that audience, and we're going to give the audience exactly what they want, which is this high fantasy barbarians game that just features straight up insane level stuff. And yeah, so now people don't just kill you, they can kill you, eat you, sacrifice you to a demigod, and then use your skull to help build their house. That's what they can do now. So if someone does that to you, do you have to watch all that, or do you just die? I have no idea. I watched a handful of Let's Plays, but all of the videos that I had watched up until just a few hours ago was the PvP wasn't engaged. So,
Okay.
So I mean, it's pretty much dominated most of the gaming news for today. There's some other, there's a handful of things out that are really, not big shockers. There's been another trailer drop for Mass Effect. It's looking great. It was a pretty small, short one. So, things are a little quiet. I think they chose a great time to put this thing out. It is an alpha, and I cannot stress enough that if you are not comfortable with lots and lots of bugs, do not ever play an alpha game. I hate the comments that come out when people like sign up for like early access, or they pay for early access, and the game is very alpha, and there's like 5 pages of stuff that they go through before they can like physically purchase the game, saying, look, this game is very early in development. Basically you're paying us to be a tester is really what's going on here. And it's totally up to you whether you want to stick this thing out. And most of these games offer some kind of a cashback kind of thing right away, and it drives me up the wall when I see people going, I've had this bug where I can't log in, or like keep crashing after 10 minutes. It doesn't work with my my driver for my video card. It's like, yeah, that's what alpha is.
Essentially, you've pre-ordered the game, and they're giving you the privilege of playing the incomplete version. That's all it is.
Yeah, from a money perspective, it used to be that, and I've done it before, is you used to get paid like minimum wage basically to sit down and play in game development studio, and to play their early games that aren't out on release yet, and they used to have to pay you. But at some point, someone was like, hey, we could make our fans pay us for access to this. And somebody was like, this is a brilliant idea. And they went nuts on this, and it's been the mainstay ever since. It's not necessarily a great thing, because, again, there's this constantly running into people who, like, oh, I played that, that alpha and it was terrible. Well, yeah, because it was an alpha, you dope. But at the same time, there's also some games that stay forever in that, it feels like that they stay forever in that beta cycle, and that's when a game's in alpha, and I think what's one of the ones that hold the record, I think Firefall, not to be confused with Firefly, 2 totally different things. Firefall was in beta, where you like buy your way into the beta for like 2 or 3 years. It was an insanely long beta play period, and to be honest, when they said it was beta, for probably the first like 50% of the time that it was quote beta, it was actually still alpha. They were, when you're changing like core concepts to the game, like do you get loot or not, like that's kind of that's a pretty alpha mechanic that is not something you should be changing in late beta stage. And we've seen this with a couple other games. There are a handful of other games that really messed up like core features, and within the last like month they did a 180 on what they were doing with it. And you had a lot of like some of these early testers and tech support people saying, this was a really bad decision. I think it was great beforehand. And stuff like that is like, you don't change that stuff in the beta phase. You kind of cement most of your ideas in the alpha stage, and then you work on improving them in the beta stage. You don't just drop entire mechanics of the game in late beta and swap them out for something new. Like that's what you never do that. That's such a bad idea. But whatever. So in this game, it's a pretty small. It's like a Minecraft style. Multiple servers. You can rent or buy a server yourself, and there's a handful of things that you can do that make the game kind of frustrating for casual people. It's the only thing that kind of puts me off from this kind of a game with the way that the servers are run. But I have not tried it yet. I have not played it yet. I have not even tested it yet. I didn't even think about asking them for a key, because I had written Funcom off a long time ago. So,
well, you know what to say about these PvP servers. They're full of dicks.
Another one.
Oh, okay. I gotta read some more of these comments. After years of a boob slider, finally equality in games. Finally a game that allows me to live the fantasy of having a tiny wiener. Here's another comment. So many questions. Does size change with temperature? Are there physics options like in Dead or Alive games, so it can bounce around like it's got a spring inside? And will you take damage if you aren't careful sitting down?
Oh, that's funny.
Oh, the creative minds of the internet can never, so much wasted time and trolling and people being horrible to another, but when there's an opportunity to make dick jokes, the community just shines.
They're all over that, and I do have to say that I am. I think this is going to be hilarious, and it's also kind of funny now that we have this because you remember the whole Gamergate thing, where a lot of people overreacted, I believe, on the quote inequality because they didn't cover the inequality of like, do you know how built Superman is and Batman? Like, do you realize how most guys cannot even get close to that standard? Well, now we have a new standard, and it's called the dick slider. And now
there's still some horrible inequality. I didn't see any sliders for ovary size. I mean, come on.
Okay.
All right. So let's just put that behind us forever now, and pretend this never happened. I do want to.
I will be fairly. I'm gonna watch the title. I'm very interested to see if this game is successful and how it is successful, with what kinds of people it's successful, how much it's banned from Twitch, and to see what other kind of.
I didn't even think about that, but yeah, I think there's I believe there are options to censor the nudity.
Yeah. Yes, there is an option to completely censor it. So.
But. Anyway, one other news item here. We have lost an icon of the gaming industry, Masaya Nakamura, the founder of Namco, sadly passed away this week. So he was born on Christmas Eve in 1925. Holy crap.
1920. Holy crap.
That's before World War I. That's before the Great Depression. Like
1925?
1925.
Are you sure that was before World War I?
World War II. Sorry.
There we go.
Sorry. I meant World War II. I know it's after World War I. But you don't often think of somebody who was born that long ago as being, an icon of the video game industry, which is such a new thing, relatively speaking. So he started Namco as it was a company that built amusement park equipment, and then eventually he transitioned into video games and video game consoles, and he's often called the father of Pac-Man because he, Namco, or Pac-Man was one of Namco's biggest titles, and of course one of the most recognizable and iconic video games that's ever existed. Now, contrary to what you might be reading on Twitter, Nakamura himself did not actually create Pac-Man. Pac-Man was created by Toru Iwatani, who was an employee of Namco. But of course, Nakamura was very much responsible for bringing Pac-Man into the limelight. And so, those of us who are fans of gaming owe a lot to this man. And
game developers and people, come on, stop dying. This has been a very horrible couple of weeks here. So stop it.
Everybody, stop dying.
If you're getting sick, stop it. Just listen to Dr. Gavin Free. Just as soon as you feel it coming on, just be like, nope, not having any of this. You just walk away. So yeah, that totally works. So, but no, Pac-Man's one of those things that I don't think enough younger people have played. I think a lot of people kind of know about it roughly, but it would be kind of nice. It'd be maybe kind of nice to have that playable thing that they have on the Google homepage every once in a while. It'd be kind of nice for them to do it this year for the anniversary of when the game was released or something like that. So. Or maybe on his birthday. Who knows? But yeah, no, that's cool. That's a sad thing, and Pac-Man is a very cool part of our history. So
it's hard to beat on those stand-up arcade cabinets. Man, yeah, it was terrible.
It's really hard to find one of those hanging around. But
it is really hard to find that. But I had Pac-Man on my NES, and I got pretty good. I don't know. I could get to like the 8th or 9th level. Which is not actually that good, I guess, coming to think of it. But
I always remembered asking myself, can this guy not find or have a better place for his food to be? Like why would you go eating in a place where there's ghosts? Like, go to a restaurant. That's what that's always what I thought. Is like why is this guy going into this creepy building that apparently doesn't have any exits, and he's trying to eat food and cherries and stuff like that.
Well, obviously that's his entire universe. He just spawns in this spot, and all he knows is chasing food and avoiding ghosts until you get to the last level of the game when everything glitches the hell out, and he can finally escape the maze and, really do nothing else. Did you know that the game is actually... It's unfinishable when the level count gets to a certain point. I think it's 256 due to memory limits and stuff. The entire thing just turns into a flustercluck. It's just how half the maze is missing and everything's glitched out, and you can still control Pac-Man, but it just is completely broken. I guess
back where the limitations of the end game was your limitations.
Yeah, I guess they didn't really expect people to get that far. I mean, that's kind of crazy. But then people discovered the Pac-Man pattern, which essentially, we're talking about the original versions of the games. I think things changed later on, but there was a way you could move Pac-Man where you could essentially win every level if you were good enough. So. Did you ever play the Pac-Man secret level on the original Wolfenstein? The Wolfenstein 3D, there was a hidden level.
Yes, I do remember that.
Yeah, that was they basically recreated the original Pac-Man maze in the 3D, and there were actual Pac-Man ghosts that would chase you, and they were invincible. You could not kill them. And it was ammo packs were the little dots or whatever. It was a lot of fun. Anyway, that's all for us for this week. Thanks so much for listening. Hope you kept listening after the first few minutes there with all the I realize this has been nuts, but
for crying out loud, the puns just never stop.
I'm fairly proud of myself. I came up with all of them just off the top of my head. I didn't even plan these in advance.
Just a little off the top, eh? Oh, see, now you got me doing it.
Okay,
you know what?
We're shutting this down. We're done
here.
We're shutting this down before this goes any further.
Have a good week, ladies and gentlemen. Please like and subscribe, and we will talk to you later.